Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Your Worthy Network. Another Monday, but not just another Monday, the Monday before Christmas. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we're so close. Well, in one regard, I'm not ready, but as a Christian, obviously, I'm always ready in some respect. But far as the family and all that, we still have some things to do. What I've been reminding you of, guys, for the last couple of weeks, and I'll certainly do it today, is whatever's left on that to-do list, take a moment, pump the brakes, slow down. It's going to be okay. Take a couple of deep breaths. It's okay, and just know that you are loved and that we're appreciative of each one of you, and I am grateful to each one of you watching or not watching. I'm just grateful for the group, and I'll be putting out a video here in a day or two to that extent. But nevertheless, I want to remind you in this hustle and bustle of the season that you are most certainly worthy of love, respect, and success. And I love being able to remind you of that every time we go live. I hope you feel it and know that it's real coming from me. All that being said, I'm excited because we have another wonderful special guest with us. I love meeting new people. I love getting to know their stories a little bit, and you're going to love our guest today for sure. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Tennille Woodward is a leadership architect, executive coach, and founder of Grow, Lead, Empower, where she helps leaders design clarity, resilience, and impact from the inside out. With more than 2 decades of experience spanning education, leadership, corporate systems, and organizational strategy, Dr. Woodward is known for bridging heart centered leadership with practical systems that work. A certified Maxwell Leadership Executive Team member and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, Dr. Woodward has led and advised superintendents, executives, and leadership teams across the country, guiding them through moments of transition, burnout, and reinvention. Her work focuses on helping leaders move from survival to sustainability by aligning mindset, systems, and values. Dr. Woodward is also the creator of the Move On Sister framework, a transformational model for healing, renewal, and forward momentum, and the author of the forthcoming book, Move On Sister. Through coaching, speaking, and storytelling, she invites leaders to claim their worth, redefine success, and lead from a place of wholeness. Her message is simple yet powerful. You are worthy of a life and leadership journey that no longer requires you to abandon yourself. I'm going to read that again. Her message is simple yet powerful. You are worthy of a life and leadership journey that no longer requires you to abandon yourself. Wow, Tennille, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I love what I just read in the bio, and we'll dig into that here in a few minutes. But tell everybody what part of the world you're coming from today.
I am originally from the east coast of Florida, so Flagler Beach, just north of Daytona. I have lived lots and lots of different places, and I currently live in Michigan.
I don't think I remember us talking about that you are from Florida. Did you graduate high school in Florida?
I did graduate high school. Yep, and I'm actually here visiting right now for the holidays. So little
Okay.
warm weather in the Michigan winter.
There you go. So yeah, a lot of people go from the north down to Florida later in life, but you decided to go the opposite trail, right?
Always creating my own path.
That's good. So tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, I have a son, Colin. He's 22 years old. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am super, super proud of him. I always still see him as 3 years old. I don't, I've talked to a lot of moms, and apparently that never changes. And then my mom and dad live here in Florida. They're the the opposite snowbirds. They spend summers in Michigan and winters in Florida. And so, yeah, great family. Happy to happy to share them with the world.
Do you guys like to do for fun in Michigan? Are y'all big lake people?
I am always happy on the water. I grew up close to the ocean. I can hear the waves roaring from where we're sitting right now, and I am on the Muskegon River up in Michigan. So anything on the water, riding four-wheelers, floating in kayaks, all that fun stuff. I love to travel. I've lived lots of different places, and I've traveled as many as well. And so, yeah, there's so much world out there to explore. I like to find what I can find in my travels.
Yeah, for sure. So educate me for a minute on lake waves. When we lived in central Illinois for several years, we were always told you got to go up to Lake Michigan or you got to go to this lake. You got to go to the beach. And that terminology, the beach and a lake, just didn't quite resonate with me. I'm like, the beach is the Gulf or the beach is the Atlantic Ocean. That's the beaches. And so, tell me about the waves. I'm just curious. Are there any substance to those waves on the bigger lakes up there or no?
In the winter, I would say definitely. So I am about 30 minutes east of Lake Michigan, where I live now. And if you watch videos of the lakes and how they roar in the winter, waves are a big deal. There's a lot of like where the lakes come into the rivers and the channels, like you can get some pretty, flowing waves there. But as a growing up on the east coast of Florida, there's nothing like a good surfing wave, out in the ocean. Different from the Gulf, different from they're all just different, right? I mean, it's just what you prefer or the time of year that you get to enjoy them.
It's so true. Then you have the Pacific where it's too cold to even get in most of the time, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So, okay, so tell us a little bit about your background. We'll get into, your entrepreneur journey. But I've discovered that most entrepreneurs didn't just graduate high school, although I do know a couple, but it's rare. Usually there's a backstory, and you have a educational history and education, right? So is that what really got you established in the workplace early on?
At 8 years old, I decided I wanted to be an accountant. I don't know what 8-year-old decides that, but I liked math growing up. So I actually started out in business school. I have a master's in accounting. I started working for Arthur Andersen as a financial auditor, and I love that experience. I went from there to Siemens Westinghouse Power Generation. I was a senior systems analyst. I used to do all the financial closing for Siemens North America and loved that. I was doing systems improvement before I really understood what it was and what the impact of it really was. And then along in that journey, I was headed toward like a software consulting gig and had a baby and just decided I did not want to travel and be gone from home, for that amount of time. So I became a middle school teacher because everyone makes that choice. So started teaching middle school math and science. And, it's so interesting because coming out of a manufacturing background like Siemens and seeing all of these process and how STEM lives in those kinds of environments and then being able to teach it to middle school students, I think it was super powerful because I had the application. I knew exactly, what that manufacturing process was and how the math applied. And, it took me a minute to figure out how to translate that to a 12-year-old. But yeah, it was an interesting journey. And then from there, I was a principal for 9 years in Egypt, in Indianapolis, in Florida, and director of technology for a school district. And my last role was a director of educational systems in a school district. And if you look at school districts around the country, they're very different sizes. So my last district was 2,500 students. One of my principal positions was in Florida, 59,000 students. It's just such a different
Wow.
dynamic of what you can do and the change you can affect when you're looking at, tremendous differences in size. But part of the fun of being a director of educational systems was really applying all of these learning, whether it was academic or non-academic, to make outcomes for students. I still get super passionate. I call the 6-year-old in the classroom. Like everything I do when I work with educational leaders is about really getting to the heart of what does that 6-year-old need? We spend a lot of time trying to intervene, right, for all the gaps. I don't, it's not necessary. I think we have the knowledge to prevent those gaps from happening. And I would love to continue working with educational leaders to prevent those gaps from happening. Yeah, so I did that until June of this past year and jumped out into the full-time entrepreneurial space. And, everything works out at exactly the right time that it's supposed to. And in some ways, I wish I had done this years ago, but if I had, I wouldn't have all the experience and the knowledge that I do now. So it all works out exactly when it's supposed to.
Yeah, you're giving me a natural segue there to the entrepreneur waters, but I want to take you back a half a step. Looking back on your educational experience, did you enjoy more the grassroots of being in the classroom and teaching? I'm sure you enjoyed both, but did you enjoy that more, or did you enjoy being in leadership roles where you could, I guess, more influential affect change?
it, at the time when I'm in a classroom, I get to see, as a middle school teacher, 150 students every day, right? And it's kind of funny the way that I ended up in a leadership role. I was at lunch with my superintendent, and he asked me, "Have you ever thought about being a principal?" My immediate answer was no. Because I grew up in the analytical side of it. I really thought, the assessment and accountability, but I worked for a leader who always knew things. And when he asked the question, I knew he had a great reason why. And so I can remember going over after lunch and saying, "Why did you ask me that?" And he's like, "I thought you might like, to be a principal." And it just, things just work out in that manner like they're supposed to, right? And so having
Mhm.
those opportunities to step into leadership roles, you see that the opportunity is there to make a difference for more students. As a classroom teacher, I have my crew of 150, but then when you become principal of a building of 500 or 900 or whatever that is, it's learning how to get teams of people to work together, how to focus on the outcomes for students, how to speak into the health and well-being of families and students to really drive that change. And so stepping into leadership is more about the size of the impact. And then, moving from a building level leader to a district level leader, same thing, right? It's the opportunity to talk and build relationships across districts and across the country, really, with the districts that I've worked with. And again, it's making the impact. And I know, with Maxwell, we talk about being the legs to the legacy. It's like, how do you keep sharing the information and sharing the wealth of knowledge and information and adding value to other people so that the next generation has more opportunity than we did?
Well, and they all have pros and cons, right? I mean, you move your way up, and it sounds like you had a lot of different experience with different, like you said, size, um, uh, educational systems. But it's like with that ability to affect change, you have to deal with different budgets and different board of educations, and they some of those I'm sure can be quite unifying, and some of them can be quite challenging, I'm sure.
It's just different people, right? People are
Yeah.
complicated, and the more I pushed for one thing, I would learn, I would get a lesson right back. And I have to start with building a relationship with people. I have to share common interests and find common ground before I could get to the work of what we were talking about. Because unless you know how much I care, you don't care how much I know. Like I can't, convince you with my pedigree that you want to make a change, right? I have to get to the heart of what is important for you and, where you see value and meet you where you're at in order to make those changes. And, the best teacher are the lessons and the mistakes that you make along the way. And you're like, "Oh, that didn't work so well. Let's try this again." So
Mhm. Okay, so school teacher, principal, I mean, what in your career and when in your career did you say, "Oh, I think I want to do something different"?
I think doors always open at the right time, In every position I've ever been in every place I've ever lived, I never went into it thinking I'm only going to be here a short time. I'm only going to do this for a short time. Every time you would talk to me throughout my 27-year journey, right? I love what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And the more that I learn, the more that I am relentless about growth. My own personal growth, my professional growth. Like I constantly am a voracious learner. I want to figure out how to do things better. And so um, as I've learned and then as I've grown, sometimes I have outgrown the system or I've outgrown the place where I was. And so, sometimes people are like, well, why did you move so much? Wasn't intentional. I was passionate about growth and there was an opportunity to make an impact. And, at the end of the day, the dash, right? But the dash is short. The time that we're here is short. And, I want to live every moment making those opportunities and taking those opportunities and adding value where I can. So who knows what I could say yes to or what I could say no to.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that commitment to personal growth for sure. All right, so a lot of people know who John Maxwell is. They know his books. Um, did you know that he had a program, a certification, or did you know somebody that told you about it? How did you come into contact with the Maxwell program?
I love that question. I'll tell you, a few years ago, Jamie Kern Lima released the book Worthy.
Mhm.
And it was at a point in time in my life when I was desperately needing her and her book. And I found out she did a 12-hour launch of her book. And I was with her for the whole 12 hours. Like it was a long day, but it was so needed. I think I, shed quite a few tears that day. Then I started to research like how can I get into more space with this type of information and found out she was going to be at Live to Lead, which was part of the International Maxwell Conference that year. And I'm like, well, I'm going. I need to be there. And that was March of 24. And so then when I decided that I was going to go be in this space to hear her, I was like, oh, that's when I found out about the International Maxwell Conference and all the things that went with it. I'm like, it's a great opportunity. I was looking for growth and things like that. So that's actually how I ended up at the conference. And then once you step into that space, it is a room of 4,000 people that are all wired like me. And I don't know, I have a feeling that your listeners are similar and the viewers are similar, but sometimes you feel like you're a square peg in a round hole, right? You're constantly trying, like I'm committed to personal growth and not everybody I interact with on a daily basis, I feel like is in the same boat, right? And so walking into that conference, now I'm in a room of 4,000 people that feel like family from the moment I walk in, and they're all committed to their own personal growth, and life changed. I mean, there's just a sea of people out there that I love, like, sisters and brothers and friends and family, and it's a life-changing experience for sure.
I've got a question about that, but I want before I forget because I'm at that age. Did you get to meet Jamie Kern at all?
I sat close to her. I stood up to ask her a question personally, but I did not get to personally meet her. No.
Oh,
Maybe
bummer.
next time.
Next time, yep.
Next time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. So tell me how the Maxwell team has enhanced your growth and tell me how it has helped you in what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think the thing that I learn is that, we talk about that we are the product of the five people we spend the most time with, right? And if that's true, and I believe it is, then I need to be around people who are a step ahead, a step above, so that I am constantly, right? I don't want to hit the ceiling and be there by myself. I want to be in a room of people that are smarter than me and are more successful than me so I can figure out how to take my next step. So for me, personally and professionally, it has significantly challenged me to grow, which I was already on a path, but I'm around great people now, and I have a bigger bar, a higher bar to keep moving forward. And then in what I'm doing now, it is, I think a lot of people that I've talked to that I tell that I've, jumped out of a full-time position in order to run and own my own company, right? They're like, oh, it's different. Everything in my life is my responsibility. I am very familiar with having a stable paycheck that shows up in my bank account every 2 weeks, and now that's not the case. And so while it terrifies me sometimes, it also ignites me more, right? And so the Maxwell organization and the people that I've met and the bar being set higher just pushes me to know and believe that I can do the work. And, there are pieces of an entrepreneur world that are not comfortable for me, but for years I've had a quote that says growth begins outside of your comfort zone, right? And so it's constantly like it's good to be uncomfortable. If I'm comfortable, I'm not doing the right things. So I have to continually take those steps and push myself a little bit farther and a little bit, beyond what feels good so that I can achieve what I'm meant to.
No, so you made the jump, you said about a year ago?
In June of 25.
No, oh wow, not, okay, just 6 months. Wow, okay. So you make the jump. Tell us a little bit about your business and who you're serving.
I love serving organizations. It's taken me a while to figure it out. I don't know if anybody else feels like this is the case. They're like, well, find your, who is your, okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me. It's like, find your ideal client, and I met somebody one time and actually back in August, and he's like, my ideal client is a 45 to 55-year-old male who's running his own business. Like he had it down to like the dollar. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I felt so inadequate. I'm like, I'm not doing this right. There's something wrong. But it has really taken me time. And if you've ever worked in an organization where you had some things happen and you're like, well, I need to step away from this scenario before I get a little bit better perspective on it. I needed a little bit of distance because I needed, sometimes I saw possibilities and I saw opportunities and I knew that change could happen, but change can be hard for a lot of people. I feel like I'm probably in the minority of I love change. For the most part, I like, let's do it. Let's, try to be the best that we can be at whatever it is we're doing. And so, um, yeah, I want to serve organizations that see the possibility and just haven't figured out the systems to go around it. So I have this idea of architecting excellence, right? So an architect doesn't fall into a building, right? You have to design it, you have to create it. And the idea that architecting excellence is a product of leadership, systems, and culture. And if you look at the space right now of all of the voices, right? There's a lot of voice around leadership and there's a lot of voice around culture, and all of those are great. And I believe that there is some systems to it that make that excellence into reality, right? So, on average, if you talk to people and you're like, hey, how are things going? People are burned out, people are tired, you're running faster and faster on this hamster wheel, and you never seem to make it, past the rotation of the hamster wheel, right? And so it's trying to design systems in your work and in your organizations that actually move that forward. And, I've just worked with a lot of people and they just believe that they can put in another hour's worth of work. And that's fine, that's great, but that takes time away from my family, right? And so at the end of the day, my son needs my time and attention, less now that he's a little bit older, but back in the day. So I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to be there for them. And if I'm constantly on this hamster wheel, it's a little bit harder. I'm not showing up with that presence to really be what they need me to be. So I have to find some boundaries and some, perspective taking on those scenarios.
Makes sense. So as we're about to turn the calendar here in less than 2 weeks, what excites you? Two-parter. What excites you about 2026? And you're actually the first person I thought to ask this. If you have a theme word for the year, what is it? Do you know what it is already?
I love this question. I have been wrestling with this. I have been creating a one word um, for about 6 years now. I've done some work with John Gordon in the past, and I'm super passionate around it. I have two, and maybe your viewers can let us know what they feel is the right word. It hasn't sat with me. The one is anchored, right? With all of the change and all of the things that I have endured and all of the lessons, like I really feel like I need to be anchored in me, choosing me, and anchored in my purpose. Like, what is it that I'm here to do? I learn that more and more each day. The other piece, the other word that actually came to me last night in a conversation that we were talking about is the word phoenix. So a phoenix rises from the ashes and continues to persist even when things are happening, right? And um, yeah, I mean, I think 2025 was a pretty rough year for me. So I think that's also a relevant word, but at the same time, I'm someone that's always pushed myself. So I have this like internal conflict of like, okay, I can be a phoenix and I can rise, but I've been rising and like rebuilding for a long time. Like a part of me just wants to like sit in that anchored peace and just be like, okay, I'm good right here. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it flushes out in the next week or so.
I love that. I was late to getting on the annual word theme. I did it for the first time 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I look back now, like probably 2 million people. I had breakthrough as the one in 2024. In 2025, I had celebrate. And I will say, and I teach a lot on gratitude, so I have to be, I have to make sure I'm practicing what I teach. But I'm with you. 2025 was extremely difficult. I'm looking forward to the calendar turning. But celebrate was my word, nevertheless, and I'm still wrestling with it for 2026 as well. But where I'm leaning is emerge.
Ooh, that's a great one.
So it's got some continuity from the
Yeah.
previous two, and anyway,
Yeah.
um, but you said something earlier, and I want to encourage you with this, and I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to myself, and I'm talking to probably lots of people that are watching. For years, I struggled with the whole square peg in a round hole mindset.
Yeah.
And there came a point, maybe about 5 years ago, when I was like, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm created just the way God wanted me. And I actually went from accepting it to relishing in it.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of there's a little bit of an edge with it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. It's just who I am. Now you want to be humble and you want to be grateful, all of that for sure. But like it's okay to be that classification
Yeah.
because it just means we're different. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a journey. I'm definitely much farther down the path right now than I was back then. I think we refine our thinking as we go, and so I might have said square peg in a round hole because 5, 10 years ago that's how I felt. Today I'm more toward the like this is me, and
Hmm.
we're not all meant to be friends forever, and people are a blessing or a lesson, right? Like everyone you meet, like there's something about it that you can take forward. I'm also very aware when the lesson seems to come around a few times. I'm like, come on, Tennille, you must not have learned it. Let's pick it up, move on.
Yeah, like what is the lesson? I don't want to miss it.
I must have missed that one. Let's try it again.
Yeah, I think it's Oscar Wilde. I love the quote. It's so simple, but it's so profound. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
great one.
yeah,
That's,
don't need to try to be like everybody else for
that's,
sure. So I would love, if you're able to, I would love to hear about your upcoming book.
I would love to share. So I was at the Maxwell conference back in August of this year. I actually had cancer this summer for the second time. The first time was back in 2009, 10. And this was a different type. It came on unexpectedly. I ended up having surgery, and I'd already planned to go to Maxwell in August. And so a week later, not probably not with the support of my doctor and my team of
Hmm.
care, but I went anyway. And I'm sitting in a session, and one of the leaders said to another leader, like, "Hey man, I was walking down the hallway and somebody came up and brought me a copy of a book that they just released." And as they're talking, kind of leader to leader in a room, I don't know how many people, a couple hundred people are in there. 30 people stand up and bring a book up to the front of the room and they're like, "Here's mine, here's mine, here's mine." I'm like, again, you're a product of the people you spend time with. Like, this is the room I need to be in. Like, there's magic, there's greatness, there's something about this room, right? And so the next day, the same kind of thing. But as this is happening, I'm, telling myself things I shouldn't admit out loud of like, who wants to read what you write? You don't have anything to share. And I'm like, no, like trying to be open, trying to quiet those words. So the next day, different leader, "Hey, you'll never guess what happened. 30 people came up yesterday and gave me a book." Again, 20, 30 people brought another so they're in a room of a couple hundred people, there are 60 books now that are up there. And the lesson, or what they kept talking about, was if you have a story, you have a lived experience of something that you have done, someone out in the world of 8 billion people will benefit from it. And so, again, going through a medical thing, I get on the plane and I'm like, I cannot wait to just turn on something mindless and relax on the way home. I couldn't do it. I opened up my laptop and I just started like, let's just see how this goes. Like, I don't know how good I'm going to be at this or whatever. So I just started talking or typing things that have happened, right? And then, started trying to think of like themes and, use a little AI, like, "Hey, tell me what's the gist of this?" Long explanation to say, Move On Sister began as a story to myself. After the things that have happened in the last few years, I do not like feeling stuck. And after I have worked to overcome and worked to rebuild and worked to start new and rise from the ashes again, I just felt like I was continually stuck. And so really when I started the process, it was just a kind of process for myself. And so it started for me, and then I started to speak it out into rooms in front of groups and things like that. And every time I did, there was this buzz of like, "I want to know more. Tell us more. What about that? How?" And so it was just so affirming from the very beginning. And the idea of the framework is, it starts with that mindset, right? I have to, even telling you the story, like I'm telling you things I was saying to myself that I shouldn't have been saying. Like, I just have to work on that mindset. And then owning your story. Again, I don't know about you, but there are pieces of my life that have never left my mouth, right? And so if you listen to some of the people out in social media, right, it's like grief deserves to be heard. And so this idea that I don't have to be ashamed of things that have happened. I can be a lesson, or I can be a story for someone else. And so that's kind of how that Move On Sister framework has been developed. And then I was speaking at a conference. I've done that a lot this year just to get out and about and try to meet new people and, try on my entrepreneur training wheels, so to speak. And I met an author, Tim Canald. He's actually started writing math textbooks. And I met him at a conference, and, I wasn't really sure. I wasn't planning on speaking with him, but we just kind of struck up a conversation, and I was telling him he released a book this year called Joy. So he has a series, Heart, Soul, and Joy, and the Joy came out this summer. And I was telling him like about my book, and he was like, "You really need to send that in to us. Like that's filling a need that's not being met." And that was like this click of inspiration. So from that conversation, I spent the next, chunk of days like just churning through ideas and how to apply them and how to share those messages. And so it's sitting on a desk at a publishing house right now, and we'll wait to see how that goes. If I get one no, I'll have some yeses right behind it. So it's been a quite of a cool journey so far.
Wow. So it's totally written.
It is.
Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
you don't have an idea at this point when it'll be released because you don't have the publisher yet, right?
I don't have a publisher yet. Nope. I sent it in a month ago, and I got feedback back that with their list, they're looking at about 2 months. So anytime in the next month, I should probably hear something back. But in the meantime, I've talked to many other people who have published through lots of different places, and so I have lots of second, third, fourth, fifth opportunities to seek out if the first one doesn't work. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, if I can always self-publish, myself if I need to, but the story's coming out.
Love it. I can't wait till it comes out. I got an idea. You're not locked into to any publisher then yet, right?
No, I'm not.
When we get off air, I've got an idea for you. But
Perfect.
that's super exciting.
Yeah.
What else exciting is coming down the pike this year, you think?
Yeah, I am going to jump into the podcast space. I have a podcast, Architecting Excellence, launches on January 5th.
Oh,
I'm super excited to share voice and airspace with people and talk to leaders, just, as you and I are doing today, and about how do you create those systems of excellence, right? And how do you, if leadership systems and culture is three legs of a stool, like what do you work on first? And, yeah, I think it's a cool conversation. I'm excited to share what I've been learning and how systems impact that, and then, you know, hear from others. I think it's going to open the door for a lot of great conversations. So I'm excited about that.
and what would you say the name of it was again?
It's architecting excellence.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking you just made this jump 6 months ago, and look at all these exciting things that are coming down the road for you. I am super happy for you. I definitely want you to stay in touch also because when the book comes out, what I can do is repurpose because Facebook takes down all live videos after 30 days anyway, but I can repurpose your video and put the book link into the comments at that time. So please keep in touch
Yeah.
with the progress of that. Um, so where can people learn more about you? Where can
Yeah.
they
So
find you?
my website is growleadempower.com. It's growing what's possible, leading what's next, and empowering what matters. And that has been an evolution over the last 6 months. So it's growleadempower.com. There's events and experiences. I love that, building new relationships. And so you'll see things on there like a Live to Lead event. There's one that's in person and one that's virtual. Also some retreats, spending time in community and reflection to build skills. And then an architecting excellence lab. So that's like a coaching lab that's a once a week space. And I'm a systems girl, right? So like the first quarter of the year is all about leadership, and then we'll go into systems and then culture, and then the fourth quarter of the year is more about integration. So and then I'm also doing some organizational consulting, working with some school districts and businesses to help them with their systems and how to make them more effective and more efficient, trying to reduce some of the burnout and the things that are happening, and support people where I can.
Exciting things for sure. you're rolling out all these things, and I'm showing my age here, but I remember a song in the mid '80s called "My Future's So Bright I Gotta Wear Shades." That's what I was thinking of when you were
That's a good
saying all
song. That's
that.
a good song. It's so funny that you say that too, because there are times when I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. But then when I do speak what is actually happening, I'm like, wow, like when you reflect, right, at the end of the year and you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, there's a lot more out there. I am very grateful for the energy and the time and the opportunity that I've had over the last 6 months to really pour in it. And it's funny because this is part of like I wish I would have done it sooner. But like I see the energy come back when you feel like you're aligned with your purpose and you're really on point. And the conversations I was actually speaking at an event last week, and somebody's like, "This is like therapy for work." I was like, "Great," like wherever I can help out, it's just a lot of fun. So
Yeah, I mean, I love the quote that there's a reason why the front windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. However, however, it is good, especially this time of year, to look in the rear view mirror and look at how much land we've covered. And we are further along. I had a business coach that constantly had to remind me, why do you think you're supposed to be X? Or why do you think you're supposed to be Y? And it was my impatience. It was at times my lack of gratitude for how far I'd come. And she's like, you're right where you're supposed to be.
yeah,
And it's so simple, and you don't want to hear that when you are being impatient and you have big dreams, but it's true. And you know, you trust me, you've come a long way in 6 months. And I'm glad you're hearing that even as you're telling the story. What Tennille, tell us what encouraging words you would want to leave the viewers with today.
it's so hard to summarize it in just a few words. Life is short, right? And I think one of the lessons that I have been grateful to learn, practice is that I try new opportunities and I try to overcome fears that I have. You were talking about the windshield and the rear view mirror, and I really think about a mirror, right? There's a lot of times when I'm with a group of people and I want to be able to look into the mirror and really see who I am so that I know what I can do next, right? And so many people and me for a long period of my life, right? I didn't want to look in the mirror. I didn't want to see because I was telling myself things that simply aren't true. And so I would say looking, owning your story, working through some of the things that whatever your situation, whatever's happened, so that you can there's a couple things that have happened in the past, and I've actually revisited physical locations to tell myself a different story of like, this happened while I was here, but that doesn't mean that this needs to be that memory, right? So I'm like using my own move on sister framework of like telling myself a different story and revisiting it and fixing that path. And so yeah, I think it's time to look in the mirror and tell ourselves a different story.
I love that. Look in the mirror and tell yourself a different story. I love that. This has been a lot of fun, Tennille. I really thank you for sharing your warmth, your experiences, and the excitement of what's coming in the new year. I think your story's fascinating, and I am remiss in not asking you this very important question. How is your health?
I am good now. So far, so good. I'm just happy to
Praise
tell you.
God.
uh, yes and amen every time. It wasn't
Wow.
completely unexpected, but I've overcome a lot and I'm here for it. Let's go.
I love it. I love it. I love your story. Thank you so much for sharing a piece of it, significant pieces of it with us. It's been great having you today.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
And guys, your story's not over yet either. If you're listening today, that means you've got a pulse. That means you've got air in your lungs. That means God is not done. He is always, always working in our lives. And so I just want to encourage you that you are worthy and your story's not over. I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas. Until next time, God bless.